Hey guys, it's the War Hipster here, and today we're going to be painting the Skorpekh Destroyers. Now, we're going to be painting these in the colours of the Szarekhan Dynasty, and these are, if you don't know, the box art and all the kind of cool stuff that we're seeing is being painted in this way. And the colour we're going to start with our Skorpekh Destroyer is the black details, and that's because we're going to paint from the inside out, because we don't want to be trying to do the black details in here once we've done all the lovely metallics. So, in order to do the black, what we're going to do is we're going to use Terradon Turquoise. That might seem weird, but trust me, it's not. We're going to use this Terradon Turquoise to give ourselves a smooth black, and then we're also going to do another black, which we're going to call Industrial Black, which is slightly different. So what we do is we pick out all of our smooth black details, and this is areas like the smooth spinal column in here, and the kind of extra bits on his weapons, like the handles here. And yeah, essentially I think that's it for these for the Skorpekh Destroyers. There's not a whole lot of the smooth black details, but if you're struggling, just go and find a picture, look at the box art, or look on gamesworkshop.com at the Skorpekh Destroyers, and yeah, we'll come back after we've got this Terradon Turquoise all applied. And next up, with all of that Terradon Turquoise applied, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Warriors. We're going to use this to paint in all the areas we want to be that industrial black, but also all the silvery areas. So the industrial black details are areas like the joints, in amongst his legs and his arms, like this. And around here in the kind of, I guess you'd say it was his knee, but like his reverse knee. Areas like that, and all the silver details, which will include areas like the working areas of the big weapons, like here and here, as well as areas like the back of the spine up here. And of course, his shoulder pads as well. These are going to be silver. And with all that Iron Warriors applied, what we're going to do now is we're going to finally apply the Black Templar. And this is going to be over all of those Terradon Turquoise and those industrial black bits. So what we want to do is for the industrial black areas, like the joints and things, we just want to coat this Black Templar all over those areas, like this. Just get it. Work it right in there. Make sure that you get a nice coverage of this Black Templar all over those Iron Warriors areas, like this. This gives you a very, very dark metal-like finish, hence the term Industrial Black. But when we're doing the Terradon Turquoise areas, what we want to do is we want to take our Black Templar, a little bit on the brush, and we want to paint this Black Templar on just the flats of the panels, leaving the edges shining through. So we just want to be very careful as we do this. And the reason we do this is so that it basically establishes our first edge highlight for us, giving us a lot less work to do to make that black really pop, like that. As you can see, I've left those edges. If I do it again on the next stage down, or the next column up, you'll see what I mean, that when you see the areas together, it just really kind of makes them look really nice and cool. So once we're going to do all of those black details like this, and then we're going to come back. And with all that black Templar applied, we can now focus on the bronze armor. Don't worry too much about shading and highlighting the silver yet. We're going to do all of the kind of shading at the same time. So for the bronze armor, what we want to do is we want to take some thinned down Runelord Brass. We want to coat this all over the remaining armor sections. So areas on his legs, his chest, his head, everywhere that is basically not the swords. That's the easier way of saying it now, isn't it? So we just want to get this Runelord Brass coated all over like this. And once all that Runelord Brass is dry, what we want to do is we want to take some thinned down Sycorax Bronze. And what we want to do is we want to pick out the kind of the outward facing areas of the bronzed armor and just coat this over. We don't want to do it all over that Runelord Brass. We just want to do it over on the kind of the areas that we want to be the shiniest. So areas like the front of his face or the top of his head. But we just leave this area here being Runelord Brass. Same with the chin and around the nose, like that. On the arms, we kind of just want to do the outside section, but we want to leave the inside. Just kind of want to do a big old line like that. And it's not particularly noticeable when you do this like this, but it will all come together when you do the final shading. It just gives you kind of a couple of different layers within it. So similarly around here on his chest. And with all that Sycorax Bronze applied, you can see we've got some lovely shiny bronze armor. And so what we're going to do just before we shade it is we're going to actually do the same thing again, but with some iron hand steel. And this is just on the silver pauldrons. And what you want to do is you want to get a coat of this iron hand steel along the kind of flat of the pauldron up there, and also along here, leaving some of that Iron Warriors just shining through in the crease, as it were, or the concave. And with all those metallics applied, you can now see we've got some lovely shiny armor. So what we're going to do is we're going to add some shading to this. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a mix of 6 parts contrast medium, 1 part Aggaros Dunes, and 1 part Wyldwood. And we're going to take that mix on our brush, and then we're just going to start slapping that all over this bronze armor like this. And as you can see, that Aggaros Dunes and the Wyldwood mixed with the contrast medium just create this lovely kind of 2 different tones across that bronze, and they interact really nicely with that Sycorax Bronze and the Runelord Brass that we applied in the first place. So you just want to get this all over like this. But in addition, on the silver up here, what we want to do is we want to take a small amount, and we just want to, in that concave of the shoulder pad, just want to run a small amount of it like this and fill up any of the battle damage and recesses that you can still find on there. And then you want to wash your brush off. Take a really small amount on your brush and then just kind of smooth it out to create that transition like that. So you get this bright silver through to the kind of dirt build up in the recess, and then up to the bright silver again. So you want to go around doing this across all of these parts of the miniature, and then we'll come back. And with that contrast medium Aggaros Dunes and Wyldwood mix applied, we're going to shade the remaining metallics, which should just be these silver details that we've left without any black Templar on. We're going to shade those with some Basilicanum Grey. And with all that shading applied, it's now time to add some highlights. Now the colour that we're going to be using first is Canoptek Alloy, and this is for all of the bronze details. We just want to pick out all of the edges across all of these details. We also want to use this Canoptek Alloy to just pick out the rune on the cartouche on his chest. And once that Canoptek Alloy is applied, we're now going to highlight all of the silver using some iron hand steel. And we also want to use this iron hand steel to highlight all of that industrial black. So areas that we originally coloured in, like the joints, when we did Black Templar over the Iron Warriors. Like this, we just want to add these edge highlights in. And with all of those highlights applied, don't worry about doing the black highlights just yet. We're going to get to those, but first we're going to do the blades. Now the colour we're going to start with is Warp Lightning. And what we want to do is we want to take a fair size amount of this on our brush, and we want to use as few brush strokes as possible as we do this. But what we can do, just to mitigate for that a little bit and to help with the smoothness, is because the blade is designed in segments, we can actually start inside a recess and pull it down in one large brush stroke. So we make contact with the model here by the recess with the Warp Lightning and pull it down in one large brush stroke like that, and we do the same thing again next to it, like that. Just always use a brush stroke. So like I missed a little spot there, just use a brush stroke to do it. Don't just stab it on, because that's how you get like dark splodges. One more time, I'm going to make contact with the model and then just pull it down in one brush stroke. Same here, just very gently using my brush to fill in, using a brush stroke rather than a blob, like that. And once that Warp Lightning green is dry, you should have some pretty awesome looking blades already. Now you could leave it here, but we're not going to. We're going to make them look even cooler. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a small amount of Ork Flesh. You really don't want loads as you do this. You just want enough to kind of like that amount. And what you want to do is you want to, in 3 places, here, here, and here, we want to draw a single brush stroke as best we can along that kind of the flat part. So we just want to make contact with the model up here. And we just want to pull this Ork Flesh down like that, just to add some darker shading to the blade. Similarly again, just go back to the pot to get a little bit more. And that sort of amount. What we want to do is, starting around here, just want to draw up to here as well again. So we want to kind of make contact with the model like that. And then just these large brush strokes, just pull, just kind of smooth that out a little bit. Like that, so we get these kind of, there's 2. And then lastly, I want to just turn the model around a little bit more Ork Flesh. We want to make contact down here, and then just pull it round once more, just going very slowly like that, and just smooth it out again. And once that Ork Flesh is dry, you can see now that we've got 2 distinct sections on each of the blades. So what we want to do is we want to create a roughly 4:1 mix of Contrast Medium and Dark Angels Green. And we want to take a small amount of this mix on our brush, not very much at all, and we just want to add a little bit more shade to these areas. Again, just like this. You don't want to do the whole area. Just adding a little bit more of a green to it. And with all of that thinned down Dark Angels green applied, we now got some really awesome looking blades with the transitions between the darker green to the lighter green. So what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight all of these blades by using some thinned down Ulthuan Grey. Sorry, I'm laughing, I've got a kitten on my lap. So what we want to do is we just want to pick out very carefully all the edges of these blades like this with the Ulthuan Grey. Once all that Ulthuan Grey is dry, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Tesseract Glow, not very much of it at all, and still with our small brush we're just basically going to go over those edge highlights with the Tesseract Glow like this to give us a really cool glowing green edge like that. So we just want to take our time again. And with that done, the blades are now finished. So what we can do is we're now on the home stretch. So what we're going to do is we're going to finish off all of that smooth black by giving it a spot highlight of Fenrisian Grey. And what I mean by spot highlight is just picking out the sharpest corners of those smooth black areas that we originally coated with Terradon Turquoise and then did the black over. And the reason we've waited until now is just in case we made any splodgy mistakes when doing the blades, we could just easily correct them before we had to do this bit, because this bit is the kind of maximum effort. It's the flourish on that black. You could just leave it with the Terradon Turquoise because it looks sufficiently malevolent. And next up we're going to use some thinned down Corax White to colour in all of the glowing orbs. So there's one on each of the gauntlets on his arms, like here, and up here. There's also one on each of his front legs. There isn't one on the back leg. Just making sure. And there's also his eyes. And then next up, once that Corax White is dry, we're going to use some Tesseract Glow on all of those glowy orbs. So the ones on his arms, the ones on his legs, and his eyes. We just want to fill the recess around them, as well as get a good coating of it all over the orb itself to give it that glowing impression. And with that Tesseract Glow applied, we're going to use some Dark Angel's Green. And this is just for those two smooth cables on his tummy. And with that, this Skorpekh Destroyer is now finished, and all that's left to do is his base. Now, if you'd like to see how I'm going to base him, you can check out the How to Paint Contrast Plus Necron Warriors tutorial, or you can look at the How to Paint the Illuminor Xerath tutorial, as the basing scheme is exactly the same. And with his base complete, the Skorpekh Destroyer is now finished. This is a really fun tutorial to make and a really quick scheme, and I really hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.